Okay, so the common thread seems to be through the readings today. The message of we got to dig deeper. We got to dig deeper to get through what we got to get through, whatever that is for you. Whether you're switching careers, dealing with a crap boss, analyzing how relationships function in your life, what kind of legacy you want to leave. All of this is coming up for debate in the collective, and it's everything. I mean, like the narratives that are playing out right now. We've got a sexual revolution. We've got the drug revolution. We've got a music revolution on our hands. Everything's changing. All these funky instruments are coming out. We're understanding sound therapy in a completely different way. Then we've got medical, education, religion, back to science. Not back to science, but science is being revolutionized as well. It's not every facet of life right now feels like it's all up for revamping, redoing, and possibly taking down entirely. I mean, if you look at what's happening, it's pretty much everything is up for revamp here. Everything. There's not going to be a stone unturned with Pluto in Aquarius. Not a stone unturned. Both of those particular energetic patterns have truth at their core. They will not stop until it's uncovered. I mean, it's just the energy it gives is like a mix of Rustin Cole and Sarah Linden from The Killing. Rustin Cole from True Detectives and Sarah Linden from The Killing. It's just the vibes they put off, guys. It's just it's like the divine detective couple that they're not letting shit slide anymore. Bisky, do you want to come over and knock on that guy? Put a bee? You want to fight about it? Are you a vicious savage? Come here. Come on. Oh, what is he? Okay. So, see puppy out. So, and our relationship to our environment and our animals and all those sacred things that can be, I feel like we're going to start to remember what it's like to actually enjoy life, not to have to like bust our butt for a weekend getaway on a beach somewhere where we have to frantically pack, frantically get on a plane, frantically unpack, frantically get into a hotel room, frantically get to the beach, to frantically find food and whatever. Yeah, it's and then have to pack up the next day and call it a good life. Yeah, I don't think that's it, kids. Right, Vicious Savage? So, I think it's a coming to terms with the reality of the situation that it's not collapsing. I think it's already collapsed. I think and people are just in denial about how they're going to move forward, or how they're going to have to figure out how to move forward. Because it's gone on for so many thousands of years. It's coded in our DNA. At least for the last 50 years since the Industrial Revolution, where everybody kind of got away from doing things for themselves. A lot of kings and queens and Nine of Pentacles coming up, and the Ten of Pentacles was always in reverse, because I think we're beginning to comprehend that the legacy that our predecessors have left us is atrocious. Is really atrocious. It's like the people that we look up to that supposedly left a legacy in the history books have done more harm than good to humanity. And we're like, I don't think that's how it's supposed to be, kids. I don't think that our legacy should be giving one man in the community all the pentacles to get a mansion and raise a family just to be a total douchebag billionaire on the back end. You know, paying off families and different people to be quiet about their atrocious behavior and acts. And I think that's what we're coming to the conclusion of, is that's what's been the legacy. That's what's been idealized as a legacy. And we are reassessing it because it's an unsustainable way of living. Not only is it horrifically harming humanity and preventing forward progress in so many drastic ways that, you know, we don't really have any modality to heal from these things because justice is elusive and we keep stepping in its pathway. I did a couple videos on justice a couple weeks ago. If you're curious on how that deity energy pattern actually conducts itself and how to just get out of its way. You just need to get out of her way. Just get out of her way. Stop trying to interfere with it. Because obviously the current justice system that we have here on the planet ain't it. It ain't it. So get out of the way. I'm not saying stop reporting. I'm saying report and let that karma now be in their plate. Let their choices be their choices. Let their choices be their choices. And they will, like a narcissist would, make it look real good on the outside, but, you know, pinky swear they're going to have, you know, some serious health problems. They're going to have some serious other, it happens to them all the time. And people have this weird, stupid narrative that, oh, the witches are doing it, or the whatever. No, that is divine justice playing out, doing what she needs to do in order to keep things, the universe balanced, I should say. Keep the universe balanced. That's why she was created. The scales, right? Divine justice. So comprehending that, like, even though man's law is failing us, it is still stepping in the way of Lady Justice. And that's the whole premise. The system is working exactly as it was designed to work, which is stepping in the way of Lady Justice, saying, no, we've got it. It's fine. We'll do it. And then you get, you know, people that are pissed off or whatever else trying to, what is that guy's name? The new patron saint of healthcare and insurance companies or some shit like that. So they wanted the public to pick that up. They wanted that violence to spread, and it didn't. Because there's a whole slew of people waking up to the fact that, like, if you just step out of the way, it'll happen all by itself. We don't need to take up arms for anything. And that's a difficult pill to swallow. That's a difficult pill to swallow. And it's going to be even more difficult for the male population once it realizes that, oh, because the feminine is tired of being the prey in the situation, that this is constantly coming to our attention, that we are the prey, they don't have access anymore. They don't have access. Because we're tired of vetting. We're tired of trying to figure out and sift through who's not going to kill us in our sleep. Who's not going to drug us and invite his freaking buddies over for a good time. Okay? We're sick and tired of sifting through that. And that's another thing that's going to, you know, that's one of the reads was kind of about that, about the relationship pattern that they thought they, you know, like, I witnessed this in my childhood. It was great. It was wonderful. It was fabulous. But it was in your childhood. You know, it was kind of under that veil of, you know, naivety. And so they followed that pattern into adulthood without taking every single last thing into account. Rather, they just fell for, you know, probably something they explain to the person, you know, oh, you remind me of the da 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 in my childhood. And said person said, oh, really? Tell me more about that so I can model that for you while not actually being that. See what I'm saying? So we get this narrative down that, like, oh, this must be similar. It feels like home, so it must be good for me. Not always. In fact, more than times than not, if you came from a dysfunctional family, and if you didn't, I'm going to question whether or not you have a pulse, first of all. And second of all, I'm going to question your ability to be real with yourself, because this is just a trauma-based structure system that we have, and it's all pervasive. It's all pervasive. Even the Amish, who are fully out of society, are, you know, having to inbreed because their population is dying off. It is 1000% trauma-based narrative, especially because they have biblical texts running through their communities. That's trauma. You're under constant threat of something that doesn't even exist. It's a man-made structure in order to keep people in line and easily controlled and manipulated. Okay? A narrative that was originally designed before religion came into function, which would have been called a binding spell. So back in the day, they would have the medicine men and women of the tribe, the healers, the whatever, assess the people that were portraying or producing negative outcomes for themselves or other people in the community, and introduce them to particular deities that were of the more discipline, instructive side, because oftentimes, even in psychology, you'll hear them say, you can't cure this. There's no cure for this. So what needs to happen is there needs to be an overlord. There has to be some sort of overlord in place with a very strict regimen on how you conduct your business. Because those people who cannot read nature and see how we are involved with nature, how we function with nature, all the abilities and beautiful modalities of existing that we can co-create with nature, when that goes away, which is the majority of us, an eagle just flew over, when that goes away, we become toxic human beings by default, because we do not have a natural law in place. So that's why man-made law became a thing, is because the higher ups, the hierarchy, wanted more power and control, and you do not get that when your civilization is earth-based. You just don't. 1313. You don't get that when you have a narrative that takes the power and control and gives it back to the person and the environment that they're directly responsible for. If you upkeep your environment, it's hard to infiltrate. Even through regular mechanisms of threat, torture, whatever it is, you find yourself in a deep connection to self and a deep connection to nature, which I think was the last read that I read for. And the second read was person developing that inner divine sacred connection to themselves. Okay? So those two reads definitely had that common thread weaving through them. There's no let's go back a minute. So there's some rich dude that's stuck in his really nice apartment, high-rise apartment, and there's some dude that's like advocating out there, telling us to help him. It's like, when you put yourself in those predicaments and attach yourself to those systems, because the guy's Bitcoin or whatever, when you volunteer as tribute to a system you can tell is already corrupt, but you're listening to the dude on the crystalline screen tell you how magnificent and wonderful your life is going to be, and then it becomes that for a hot minute, but then all of a sudden now you're accused of fraud because you got involved with fraud. That's all Bitcoin and crypto is. It's just fraud. It's just fraud. It's just an illusion of another illusion on another illusion. It's just an illusion to make you believe that there's some people who just don't deserve to live here because they don't get on crypto. Do you know how stupid that is? You were born here, but man, existing, that's a whole nother story. You have to be a slave to the system in order to exist in the system. Okay, and my particular collective is getting the taste of that. Seeing how that's not how to conduct any sort of life. We are already in the matrix. We are already in the matrix. And it's just a matter of pulling the plugs, getting in the in-between, which is where we are right now at a major crossroads in humanity. How are we uplifting the matrix? How is it playing out? Why are our convictions and our belief structures manifesting this out into society? How did this happen? So we're having to go beneath all those little teeny tiny little tidbits of layers and figure out, okay, I set this into motion along with every other creature on the planet who was born here and bought into a system that we were told that we didn't have an option. There was never a moment where it was perceived, if we do not slave away and make the Pentacles, that blah 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 blah. Okay, so this is a massive unveiling here, and we've got an atrocious amount of people that are beginning to realize that the billionaires are never going to have their backs. They're just not. It's never going to happen. And so why would you support? It's the basis for living is you support that which supports you. And we have been doing the freaking opposite since I would venture probably between 6,000 and 10,000 years ago is when we stopped supporting what supported us. That's a difficult pill to swallow. That is a difficult generational curse to overcome, and it is it's bone deep. It's bone deep, and that's why so many people are invested. So many people are invested because they think it's reality. When in reality, those things that you are busting your butt for decades on end, never going to support you. What the fuck? If you don't have the core institutional alignment that says, I support that which supports me, and nothing negates that, you're going to have a rude awakening here in the next couple months. It's going to be harsh. It's going to be cruel, and it's going to be unkind. So best do the inner work now. Get to the healing. So this card came out first. This was underneath it. So the sovereignty of air, getting mentally clear, and the 3 of air. So February 17th, it goes from the year of the snake to the year of the horse. February 20th is when Neptune and Saturn both station at 0 degrees of Aries. Boy, if that ain't gonna burn some clarity into you, I don't know what will. And it'll probably be pretty cathartic. I think we've severely let fear take over, and because we let fear take over, we are not perceiving the possibilities of what could actually be. And so I think collective is asking a lot of us right now to sit down and really start dreaming up, with Neptune and Pisces still dreaming up what the world could be rather than what the patriarchy wants it to be. Because if we continue on this path, there is a very real outcome of extinction, with the very brittle few, which are the billionaires. They are a brittle breed. Brittle. It's not even fragile. You look at them sideways and they get butt hurt. Do you understand? Brittle breed is running the freaking entire show. Okay? Let's just, okay? Because it takes strength, courage, integrity to say, gee, I'm really fucking over humanity as a whole here. Maybe I should stop. It takes a very strong, intelligent, emotionally capable person to be like, you know, this isn't even in my best interest, because once all my slaves are gone, how am I going to wipe my own butt? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, they don't even have their own best interest at heart. So we need to stop idolizing them in any way, shape, or form and making them the standard. Okay, so that's why the legacy was in the reverse for the first reading, is you're beginning to just grasp this concept that the legacy we've been told to aim for is pure shit. It is horrific. It is horror. It is, if you look at the family standing in the shadow of the mansion in the tree trunk, it just screams, yeah, this poor tree had to pay witness to these ignoramus, greedy, like, shitlords that were like, yeah, for a very big place to live, I'm going to make sure a lot of people suffer and, you know, die in a horrible way while I watch with not giving them any assistance at all, when I had all the Pentacles to do so. It's just like when science sent doctors into Mother Teresa's, whatever you want to call them, and said, oh, these people are not being taken care of well at all. They're just being given beds and food. You mean other than a street corner and starvation? Where the fuck are you, science? If a doctor knows that and they're just like, oh, that sucks. I think we're waking up to just how much both, if you're arguing between one side or the other, how ludicrous and insane both sides are. It's not just one or the other. It's not a picking of, you know, the vast majority of, you know, things that are available to us. It's, we are forced into, you have two options. You have red or blue, science or religion. This sports team or this sports team. So much that stems out from just a duality of living. And I'm not against duality. I'm against, like, being forced into pick something when neither, you know, the difference between two evils. We just keep forcing it on people and we just keep accepting it as if it's our only option. And it's not. That's the problem. It's not. We are being fear-mongered into believing that we have to buy into a system. Curiosity of Earth. That we have to buy into a system. But is actively seeing to our torture, our poisoning, and then our torture on top of that, and then more torture and poisoning, and then the parasiting of our bank accounts that we busted decades of our lives to get for a company that just wants us, right? Okay. Or a company that's ensuring that the Pentacles that we did make are funneled back into their pockets, into their buddies' pockets. Line of fire. Okay. So this seems to be the collective I'm reading for. So it's a massive, massive undertaking to try to sift through all this, and I hold fierce compassion for that, because I too have had to do that. And some of you are onto depths that I have yet to breach myself. So
I will hold space for that. I will do my best to follow you with my own light to see where that pathway goes for both of us, and we can get through it together. So keep going. You have my full support. And I'll keep doing these reads and keep trying to put out comprehensive 3D ways in which we get through this. But for right now, we're still in a cocoon. We've got to shed that last bit of the tail of the snake. And that can be the most difficult part because that reaches the furthest back into our history. When you look at the north and south nodes, you know, we're in that southern cocoon right now where we're going to have to eventually break out of it and fly, you know, north for the summer and the spring. We're going to have to learn to fly north into our north node and become that. And that's a lot of work to do when there is so few support systems in place. So fierce compassion for yourself, for those around you going through it, for people who don't have any support at all whatsoever. Stop looking at it as like, oh, it's their karma, they did it to themselves. They are probably going to be some of the most powerful initiates the planet has ever seen. Stop associating Pentacles with any sort of worth and value. I am so sick and tired of seeing readers go, well, you know, now they're homeless because they're a worthless piece of shit. Okay. Billionaires are destroying people's lives in droves. And the poor people are worthless pieces of shit? Are you fucking kidding? So be leery of those people perpetuating narratives where there's got to be a less than, okay? That's what divine justice is for, is to equal out that playing field. And just because people have been allowed to make those mistakes, and they have been allowed to make those mistakes, that is human nature. It's human nature that when things are allowed to go awry, and you know they are stuck in a paradigm they can't see any way out of, that help isn't offered, a different modality isn't offered, and everybody's like they always have choices. And some people perceive that to be a lie. Some people perceive choices to be a fantasy or a farce, when in actuality they do. But the problem is that because the way society is so structured and set up behind not having more than two choices, right? We get conned into believing all these different crappy things that manifest terrible things. So, yeah, you do have a choice whether you manifest genocide or not. You do have a choice when you sit down to pray, rather than taking your energy to a different space that doesn't create predators. Okay? So this whole, like, narrative of rich versus poor, just imagine that person holding a giant shovel and saying, these people can just get off the planet. Okay? So I just did a reading for somebody who had a really crappy bureaucratic system that was protecting an emperor in the reverse. At no time did I, under any circumstances, imply that that emperor needed to be disposed of. Just exposed for what he was, so that way the harm couldn't continue. Which doesn't mean off the planet, it just means exposed, so the people around him are no longer going to be able to support him in the endeavor. And oftentimes that's what it takes. Emperors in reverse didn't get to be emperors without a lot of outside assistance and help. AKA people telling you that, like, the emperors are the greatest and the whateverest, and meanwhile the poor in the ditch deserve to be there. See how that narrative... This is why I did a video on why I don't like reading tarot cards. It's the way that everybody else reads them. Okay? Divine justice will take care of things. And it's not our job to step in her way and absorb that karma, because that's what those readers are doing. It's very tragic. It's very sad. But it's making neural pathways in people's brain when you're listening that some people just don't deserve. They don't deserve shelter. They don't deserve food. Some people just don't deserve that. Meanwhile, they're like, yay, billionaires. Because if the poor are the ones that are receiving bad karma, what are the rich doing? Receiving good karma for doing all that stuff to children? What? People do not have a real firm foundation in what they're putting out into the world, and that's what's coming into the collective right now. What am I actually producing out in the world? What do my words mean? What do they actually mean when the rubber meets the road and people have to go out and live their lives? You're creating a narrative where the billionaires are the winners and the emperors, and so that's what's happening. See what I mean? It's time we assess all of it, not just bits and parts and pieces and what makes us feel good. We need to sit with the parts that says, you know, that did feel good. It felt really good when that person was getting blah, blah, XYZ. But what does the opposite of that mean? How is this actually playing out as manifestation in society when I'm lifting this narrative that this person on the internet wants me to think? What is it actually doing out into society? How is this performing? Right? So sifting it through your own system and making sure that, like, when you are adhering to one narrative, you make sure you know the entire narrative, not just, you know, poor people are shitbags. Because those Epstein files keep flooding in, and rich people aren't that spectacular either. So what are you doing? I'd say you're putting yourself in a pretty shitty predicament. And inserting yourself into a narrative that you couldn't see. And that's the general basis of the population right now, is figuring out, this is a narrative that I kept running because it fed my bank account. I don't think it's turning out the way you thought it would, because we are in the middle of a harvest season right now that's pretty difficult to digest. So again, when we speak to consciousness, we need to take the consciousness outside